Okay, everybody, I appreciate your willingness to allow me to do the class like this. Hopefully, you'll find it beneficial. First and foremost, I'm going to try to remind you throughout, pause, rewind, because I'm not going to stop long enough to give you an opportunity to respond. So I'm going to expect you to hit the pause button, respond, and then hit the play button again, and that way you get the immediate feedback. In language learning, immediate feedback is important. So you have the power to pause me, rewind me if you need to. Okay, so we're going to look at vocabulario 2 en la página 58, page 58. And so we're going to go through the pronunciation. First of all, I'm going to start over on the left-hand side with Canada over at the very, very top, and we're going to give the names of the nationalities. So what you're actually saying here is going to be like Canadian, North American, Mexican, okay, the nationality. So repeat with me and I'll go through these fairly quickly. Canadiense, estadounidense, mexicano, guatemalteco, salvadoreño, nicaragüense, costarricense, panameño, ecuatoriano, peruano, boliviano, chileno, argentino, uruguayo, paraguayo, brasileño, colombiano, venezolano, hondureño, puertorriqueño, dominicano, haitiano, cubano. So moving to the top right, alemán, inglés, francés, español, italiano, egipcio, guineano, ruso, árabe, indio. And coming down to Asia, chino, coreano, japonés. And I only gave you the male form, so you can obviously see the female forms there. So we're going to practice with this just a little bit. And then what we're going to do it is, instead of practicing with a compañero, I'm going to be your compañero. So we're going to say una mujer de, and I'm going to insert a country. For example, the first country that you see on your slide is Mexico. So a woman from Mexico is Mexican. Una mujer de México es mexicana. A man, un hombre de México es mexicano. Did you hear the difference? Mexicana, mexicano. So we're going to start the next ones. And again, pause me, please. So you're starting out now with Venezuela. Una mujer de Venezuela es venezolana. Un hombre de Venezuela es venezolano. Rusia. Una mujer de Rusia es rusa. Un hombre de Rusia es ruso. Guatemala. Una mujer de Guatemala es guatemalteca. Un hombre de Guatemala es guatemalteco. España. Una mujer de España es española. Un hombre de España es español. Francia. Una mujer de Francia es francesa. Un hombre de Francia es francés. Bolivia. Una mujer de Bolivia es boliviana. Un hombre de Bolivia es boliviano. Japón. Una mujer de Japón es japonesa. Un hombre de Japón es japonés. Ecuador. Un hombre de Ecuador es ecuatoriano. Una mujer de Ecuador es ecuatoriana. And I just said those two backwards. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. So we're going to do exercise 224 together. And I'm going to tell you where these people are from. And then you're going to follow the model. So I'll fill in the blank here for you. So for example, if I gave you the very first one, Cuba, because these people in the example on page 59 are from Cuba. Gloria Estefan, Eva Mendes, Fidel Castro. So I'm going to say, Gloria Estefan, Eva Mendes, y Fidel Castro son de Cuba. I use son because it's the verb to be that goes with the plural. Son de Cuba. Son cubanos. And notice it has to become cubanos because it is plural. So we'll do the next one together. And again, pause me. I'm going to go through pretty quickly, so you're going to need to pause. Say these for yourself, process them to yourself, and then check your answer with my response. So these people are from Colombia. Shakira, Carlos Vives y Sofía Vergara son de Colombia. Son colombianos. And there's your answer. The next one is Venezuela. So your answer is Hugo Chávez, Andrés Galarraga y Carolina Herrera son de Venezuela. Son venezolanos. Next country is Mexico. Gael García Bernal, Carlos Fuentes y Carlos Santana son de México. Son mexicanos. And just for the record, you can spell Mexico with a J, R, and X. Next country, Spain. Penélope Cruz, Sergio García y Plácido Domingo son de España. Son españoles. Next country, Dominican Republic. Oscar de la Renta, Manny Ramírez y Dania Ramírez son de la República Dominicana. Son dominicanos. And finally, the next country, England or Inglaterra. Los príncipes William y Harry, David Beckham y su esposa Victoria Beckham son de Inglaterra. Son ingleses. And again, please note that all of the adjectives, Venezuelans, Spanish, Dominicans, all ended in an S because the subject is plural. They have to agree in number and in gender. Next slide. Okay, a little bit about the verb conjugation. Fortunately, you all did a pretty good job on the test on the AR verb conjugation. And so once you got that pattern in your head, then it's a little bit easier to do the ER and the IR verbs. And the good news is there are no other verbs besides AR, ER, and IR. So with this one, you get the actual, you get them all. So take a look at those just a really quick second. Okay, so notice the verb abrir, to open, the verb vender, to sell. Abrir is an IR verb. Vender is an ER verb. Yo abro, yo vendo. Tú abres, tú vendes. Él, ella, usted abre. Él, ella, usted vende. Notice that they're all exactly the same up to this point, whether they're ER or IR. However, the next two do change slightly. Nosotros abrimos, nosotros vendemos. Vosotros abrís, vosotros vendéis. So those two are different from an IS to an EIS to an IMOS to an EMOS. Just got to memorize that. And then you go back to both of them having the same ending. Ellos, ellas, ustedes abren. Ellos, ellas, ustedes venden. So if I take any verb on page 60, it will conjugate exactly the same way. It's all going to change, conjugate the same way. So we're going to practice that just a little bit. Keep your book open to page 60. Look at the endings in the chart up there. I'm going to remove the ending from here that you'll see on the slide, but I'm going to give you some subjects, and we're going to do like we typically do in class. So here are the subjects: yo, mi compañero de clase, mis abuelos, Miguel, Rosa y Juana; vosotros, mi tío y yo; tú, Rosa, el vicepresidente. And the first verb we're going to use is escribir muchas cartas, write many letters. So what I want to say is I write many letters, my classmate writes many letters, my grandparents write many letters, Miguel writes many letters, etc. So here we're going to get started with escribir, and I'm going to say the subject, and again you're going to need to pause me. Every time that I say a subject, you pause, you say it, you hit the go button again, and then you'll hear me give the response. So I'm going to go pretty quickly, so please pause. Yo escribo muchas cartas. Mi compañero de clase escribe muchas cartas. Mis abuelos escriben muchas cartas. Miguel escribe muchas cartas. Rosa y Juana escriben muchas cartas. Vosotros escribís muchas cartas. Mi tío y yo escribimos muchas cartas. Tú escribes muchas cartas. Rosa escribe muchas cartas. El vicepresidente escribe muchas cartas. So you gotta feel for it. All right, so the next one is leer las revistas en clase. Read the magazines in class. So again, I read the magazines in class, etc. So here we go again. Make sure that you use your pause button. You process these on your own. Yo leo las revistas en clase. Mi compañero de clase lee las revistas en clase. Mis abuelos leen las revistas en clase. Miguel lee las revistas en clase. Rosa y Juana leen las revistas en clase. Vosotros leéis las revistas en clase. Mi tío y yo leemos las revistas en clase. Tú lees las revistas en clase. Rosa lee las revistas en clase. El vicepresidente lee las revistas en clase. The next one, asistir a clases todos los días. Attend classes every day. So here we go. Yo asisto a clases todos los días. Mi compañero de clase asiste a clases todos los días. Mis abuelos asisten a clases todos los días. Miguel asiste a clase todos los días. Rosa y Juana asisten a clases todos los días. Vosotros asistís a clases todos los días. Mi tío y yo asistimos a clases todos los días. Tú asistes a clases todos los días. Rosa asiste a clases todos los días. El vicepresidente asiste a clases todos los días. The next verb phrase is vivir in Dalton. Sorry about that. It should be V-I-V-I-R. I've used the ellos form of it. Vivir is the verb. So vivir en Dalton. Yo vivo en Dalton. Mi compañero de clase vive en Dalton. Mis abuelos viven en Dalton. Miguel vive en Dalton. Rosa y Juana viven en Dalton. Vosotros vivís en Dalton. Mi tío y yo vivimos en Dalton. Tú vives en Dalton. Rosa vive en Dalton. El vicepresidente vive en Dalton. And the last one is comprender el español. Should have an R on the end. Yo comprendo el español. Mi compañero de clase comprende el español. Miguel comprende el español. Back up. Mis abuelos comprenden el español. Rosa y Juana comprenden el español. Vosotros comprendéis el español. Mi tío y yo comprendemos el español. Tú comprendes el español. Rosa comprende el español. El vicepresidente comprende el español. And what I would encourage you to do, if you didn't get those, if you had a problem with them, go back and review them again. It's so important that you get the verb conjugation and that you're able to do it pretty quickly. Okay, let's move to the next slide. Looking in the book, one more opportunity to practice with this one, and we'll practice a little bit more when we get back in class on Thursday. But look at 228. And what we're going to do with this one is we're going to go straight across. So in other words, quién, that means who. ¿Qué? What? ¿Dónde? is where. So in other words, what I'm going to say is we from the first column, read the newspaper from the second column, in the room in the third column. So we're going to put that together. And again, this is conjugating the verbs with the different elements in that box right there that you're looking at on 228. So again, I'll give you the English, and then you will need to pause, try to frame the Spanish or try to phrase the Spanish, and then hit the go button again and listen to the answer. We read the newspaper in the room. Nosotros leemos el periódico en el cuarto. Your roommate eats at home. Tu compañero come en casa. You learn the vocabulary in the cafeteria. Tú aprendes el vocabulario en la cafetería. The professor drinks coffee in class. El profesor bebe café en clase. Your parents write letters in the library. Tus padres escriben cartas en la biblioteca. And again, if you didn't get that, rewind me, try it one more time. Let's move to the next slide. Activity 229. And I'm going to ask you the questions and tell you how I want you to respond to these. So on number 1, ¿Dónde vives ahora? I want you to say, I live in Dalton. Vivo en Dalton. And I can put a yo there if I want to. ¿Con quién vives? With whom do you live? Say, I live with my parents. Vivo con mis padres. ¿Cuál es tu dirección? What's your address? And I want you to say, my address is, and whatever it is. Mi dirección es. All right, so let's move on to number 2. And again, pause me, please. Important that you process this. ¿Aprendes mucho en tus clases? Do you learn a lot in your classes? Say, yes, I learn a lot in my classes. Sí, aprendo mucho en mis clases. Debes estudiar mucho must you study a lot? And I want to point out how that one is phrased. Debes is conjugated, must you. Then the next verb after debes, for our purposes, is always going to be in the infinitive, meaning it's going to end in AR, ER, or IR. And it'll be the same way in your response. So must you study a lot? I want you to respond, yes, I must study a lot. Remember, study is going to be in the AR form. Sí, yo debo estudiar mucho. Okay, and number 3 says, en general, eres un estudiante bueno o malo. In general, are you a good student or a bad student? And if you're a girl, you're going to answer with an A ending. And if you're a guy, you're going to answer with an O ending. So you're going to say, in general, I'm a good student. En general, soy un buen estudiante. Or if you're a girl, you would say una buena estudiante. Or you could also say, and I just noticed the book says, un estudiante bueno or una estudiante buena. Both are perfectly correct. So the buen, if it goes in front, it becomes buen estudiante. If it goes behind, it's bueno. And the girl form stays exactly the same for both. Number 4, lees mucho o poco. Do you read a lot or a little? Please say, I read a lot. Leo mucho. ¿Lees novelas, el periódico o páginas de internet? Do you read the newspaper? Do you read novels, the newspaper, or internet pages? Please say, I read the newspaper. Leo el periódico. ¿Dónde comes? Where do you eat? Please say, I eat in the cafeteria. Como en la cafetería. And finally, ¿qué tipo de comida comes? What type of food do you eat? Please say, I eat Mexican food. Como comida mexicana. Again, rewind me if you need to. Repeat those. Really important to get the verb conjugations. Okay, so we're going to move on to page 62, la página 62. We're going to learn a couple of things about the verb tener. One is the conjugation, but also there's 2 special cases with the verb tener, plus there's a lot of idiomatic expressions. An idiomatic expression in Spanish is basically an expression that doesn't make sense in English. Or it would not make sense in another language. For example, if I'm going to say I'm hot, in Spanish I have to say I have heat, tengo calor. So that's just an example. But first and foremost, let's look at the endings here. There are several irregular endings from a normal ER verb. That's why this is called an irregular verb. The first one, yo tengo, I have. Tú tienes, you have. And notice that the E in the middle is a stem change. This is called a stem change verb in Spanish. The E goes to IE in certain forms. So yo tengo, tú tienes, él, ella, usted tiene, nosotros tenemos, it goes back to the E, vosotros tenéis, it goes back to the E, and then finally, in the final third person plural, ellos, ellas, ustedes tienen, it goes back to the IE, and of course the ending is the EN. All the endings on this are regular except for the GO form. So you'll have that in your book to support you on page 62 as we move forward and do an exercise or two. Okay, so if you'll look on down in the book, it talked about uses of tener. And the first one is to indicate possession. ¿Cuántas hermanas tienes? Yo tengo 2 hermanas. To express age. So in Spanish you say I have X number of years. ¿Cuántos años tienes? María tiene solamente 18 años. Margarita tiene 20 años. Maria is only 18. Margarita is 20. Of course, we use the verb is or are in English. In Spanish, it's to have. How many years do you have? Okay? And that's an idiomatic expression. And then you can see some other ones also. Tener calor, to be hot. Tener celos, to be jealous. Tener éxito, to be successful. Tener frío, tener hambre, tener miedo, tener paciencia, tener prisa, tener razón, tener sed, and tener sueño. All of those are idiomatic expressions, and they're things that you just have to memorize. So if I want to say I am sleepy, the way we use the verb to be for in English, you say I have sleepiness, probably. Yo tengo sueño. He is sleepy. Él tiene sueño. Note that although Spanish speakers use hacer to say it is cold or hot, hace frío, hace calor. If you want to say I'm cold, you say yo tengo frío. Ella tiene calor. Okay? Now there is another verb form that I want to point out to you, and that is the idiomatic expression to feel like, where you actually have to conjugate the verb a little bit differently. And so if I want to say, for example, I feel like studying. Tengo ganas de estudiar. So notice the first verb is conjugated. The verb tener is conjugated. Ganas de, the one that you see there in red, never ever changes. And then the next verb, whatever you feel like doing, stays in the infinitive form. A-R, E-R, or I-R. Tengo ganas de estudiar. I feel like studying. Tengo ganas de comer. I feel like eating. Tengo ganas de hablar con el profesor. I feel like talking to the professor. Notice it works exactly the same way if you want to say we, or he, or she, or whomever. You conjugate the verb tener. Tenemos ganas de estudiar. We feel like studying. Tenemos ganas de comer. We feel like eating. Tenemos ganas de hablar con el profesor. We feel like talking to the professor. If I want to say the vosotros form, you all feel like eating. Tenéis ganas de comer. Tenéis ganas de estudiar. And I could go on and conjugate all the verbs with the tener. But I want to point out to you one last time before I leave this slide. Ganas de doesn't change, and the verb that follows it is going to keep its AR, ER, or IR form. And it means feel like doing whatever the verb is. And working exactly the same way is if you have to do something. I have to study. I have to eat. I have to talk to the professor. We have to study. We have to eat. And so all of those verbs are going to work exactly the same way, except this time the word in red that never changes is the word que. So, tengo que estudiar. I have to study. Tengo que comer. I have to eat. Tengo que hablar con el profesor. I have to speak with the professor. Tenemos que estudiar. We have to study. Tenemos que comer. We have to eat. Tenemos que hablar con el profesor. We have to study. Tenéis que comer. Tenéis que estudiar. I could go on. I could say, tú tienes que estudiar. You have to study. The verb tener conjugates just like it did with ganas de. In this case, que never ever changes, and then whatever it is that you have to do is going to follow, and it's going to keep its AR, ER, or IR form of the end of the verb. Okay? And that one again means to have to do something. So I'm going to give you some practice with those so you'll get a little bit of a better feel for them. But again, these are idiomatic expressions with the verb tener. Tener, tengo, tienes, tiene, tenemos, tenéis, tienen. That's the conjugation. And then on page 62, you have the idiomatic expressions that are not literal translations, including tengo ganas de, I feel like doing something. Tengo que, I have to do something. So let's try an activity 234 just to practice a little bit with the idiomatic expressions. I know you got the verb tener, but we're going to practice a little bit with the idiomatic expressions. So on page 62, you'll see them that you can choose from. Again, pause me as you need to, because I'll go pretty fast and you will need to pause to process and answer. So I'll be telling you what the questions are asking you, and I'll tell you what I want you to say. So looking at number 1, the first one says, ¿Cuándo tienes sueño? And then it goes on to say, ¿En clase o por la noche? When are you sleepy? In class or at night? And I want you to say, I am sleepy at night. Tengo sueño en la noche. Or you could say por la noche, as the book says. Number 2. ¿Cuándo tienes prisa? When are you in a hurry? This is what I want you to say. I'm in a hurry in the morning. Tengo prisa en la mañana. The second part of that one says, ¿siempre llegas a tiempo a clase? Do you always arrive on time to class? And I want you to say, yes, I always arrive on time to class. ¿Sí? Siempre llego a clase a tiempo. Number 3, ¿tienes mucho éxito en tu vida? And you'll notice that tener éxito means, are you successful in your life? And of course you are. So you want to say, yes, I am very, or a lot, mucho, successful in my life. Sí, tengo mucho éxito en mi vida. And this is a false cognate. Éxito doesn't mean exit, it means success. The next part of the question. Are your classmates successful? And I want you to say, yes, my classmates are successful. Remember to pause me. Sí, mis compañeros tienen éxito. Notice that I conjugated tienen to go along with compañeros. Éxito doesn't change because it is a noun. Let's go to number 5. ¿Tienes celos de un amigo? Are you jealous of a friend? And of course you're not. So you say, whoops, I'm sorry, I skipped one. Let's go back to number 4. Number 4 says, ¿tenemos mucha tarea en esta clase? Or do we have a lot of homework in this class? Of course we don't. So we're going to say, no, we don't have a whole lot of homework in this class. No, no tenemos mucha tarea en esta clase. The second part says, ¿tienes miedo de los exámenes? Are you afraid of the test or the exams? And I want you to respond, no, I'm not afraid of exams. No, no tengo miedo de los exámenes. And now, number 5, are you jealous of a friend? Of course you're not. So I want you to say, no, I'm not jealous of a friend. No, no tengo celos de un amigo. Number 6, ¿siempre tiene razón el profesor? Is the professor always right? Of course he is, even when he's wrong. So what I want you to say is, yes, the professor is always right. Sí, el profesor siempre tiene razón. ¿Tienes mucha paciencia cuando estudias español? Do you have a lot of patience when you study Spanish? Notice in this answer, you're going to have to conjugate 2 verbs. Yes, I have a lot of patience when I study Spanish. 2 verbs to conjugate. So think about this one. Sí, tengo mucha paciencia cuando estudio español. Second part of number 7. Tienes que estudiar mucho. Do you have to study a lot? Remember that tener que? Here it is. Tienes que estudiar mucho. And so I want you to say, yes, I have to study a lot. Sí, tengo que estudiar mucho. And again, you can put a yo in there if you want to. Sí, tengo que estudiar mucho. Number 8, ¿tienes mucha hambre ahora? Are you really hungry now? And I want you to say, no, I'm not hungry now. No, no tengo hambre ahora. ¿Tienes sed? Are you thirsty? And say, yes, I'm thirsty now. Sí, tengo sed ahora. And number 9, ¿tienes calor ahora? Are you hot now? I'm sorry, that's not what it says. It says, ¿dónde tienes calor? Where are you hot? And I want you to say, I'm hot in the gym. Tengo calor en el gimnasio. And by the same token, ¿dónde tienes frío? Where are you cold? And I want you to say, I'm cold in Alaska. Tengo frío en Alaska. And number 10, ¿cuándo tienes miedo? When are you afraid? I want you to say, I'm afraid in the dark. And the way to say the dark is la oscuridad. Tengo miedo en la oscuridad. Okay, so this is what we want to do. And of course, we will come back in on Thursday. We've got very little to do in this chapter, so I will go back over with you the ER verbs, the languages, and the verb tener to make sure that you've got it. But I'm going to give you some opportunities to practice with it. So check Kia for your homework. Make sure that you come in on Thursday with any questions that you need answered face-to-face. We'll do the numbers, which are just as logical as 1 through 30 were. We will review for the test, and then make sure that you check Kia for any homework that I'm going to give you to practice with this one. And again, if there's something that you're unsure of, come with those questions on Thursday, and I'll make sure that I clear anything up for you that I can. Have a great evening.